Hey, it's Trevor Hamaker, creator of Better Youth Ministry. I'm glad you're checking out this video. If you like it, I'd love for you to subscribe, and that way you don't miss any of the future videos that I put together. This video is all about leading small groups on Zoom. So if you're looking for help with that, you're in the right place. So this COVID-19 coronavirus has forced a lot of churches to innovate very quickly, probably more quickly than they wanted to. And for many of us, that means experimenting with new ways to gather, teach, and worship. I know it's been a stressful time that has stretched all of us. But look, it's not all bad. I have a friend who's a senior pastor at an older traditional church. He's been doing something called Everyday Church on Facebook Live. And here's what he does. He starts the video every night at 8 o'clock. He reads a few Bible verses and shares some devotional thoughts. And he told me that his church has responded more positively to those 10-minute videos than they have to most of his sermons on Sunday morning. I'd say that's a win. The student ministry at my church has decided to use Zoom for our small group meetings until we can be together in person again. And I'm a 6th grade small group leader, and I just led my group on Zoom yesterday morning for the very first time, and I'd say it went really, really well. In fact, several of the guys said that we should do it like that even after the virus goes away. Now, if I'm honest, that probably had more to do with the experience being a little bit new and a little bit different for them, plus the fact that most of the guys had bedhead and they were still in their pajamas. But now that our first meeting in the Zoom room is in the books, I wanted to share a few things that helped it go as well as it did. So here we go, 7 quick tips for leading small groups on Zoom. Tip number 1, communicate early. Students won't show up for the group if they don't know it's happening. Send emails to parents, texts to students, and post on social media that your group is meeting on Zoom. Be clear, overly clear, about the date, time, and Zoom meeting ID number. And it's also not a bad idea to provide basic information about how Zoom works. That way there aren't any questions that you're going to get right before the meeting is supposed to start. Tip number 2, send reminders. The small group meeting is a priority for you, but it can easily slide off the radar for a student who's been sitting at home all week. And because of that, you can't just post about it and forget about it. If you do, then they'll forget about it too, and you'll be left with an empty online small group room. Instead, here's what you need to do. You need to over-communicate the details to both parents and students. I would highly encourage sending an email and/or text message 1 hour before you're starting, and then send another one 10 minutes before you start. Tip number 3, have everything ready. You need to show up in the Zoom meeting room a few minutes before your meeting is scheduled to start. That way you have a chance to familiarize yourself with all the buttons and options and controls before you go live. Plus, you'll be there to greet kids as they show up, and that way you can assure them that they're in the right place. You'd hate for them to show up, have nobody else in there, and then they leave. Also, if you're planning to show a video or use any files from your computer, go ahead and get those files ready, get those videos ready, so they're easy for you to access at the right time. And while you're at it, be sure to close anything that you don't want to be visible to students when you share your screen with them later in the meeting. Tip number 4, start with fun. Because of social distancing, many of the kids in our groups are starved for community and human connection right now. A lot of schools have stopped meeting, and students aren't seeing their friends as much as they would like, so don't rush right into the lesson. Encourage the students to use the alternate backgrounds feature that Zoom offers. That's always a lot of fun. Share a funny meme that you've seen or a video that you've come across, or just let them talk, let them laugh and catch up. Don't minimize the importance of small talk for your group. Beyond that, I would recommend that you disable the chat feature. That way you keep everybody tracking with you instead of getting lost on the side in the chat comments. I think a good icebreaker question to start the group off with is simply, what have you come across on Netflix this week that was surprisingly good? That question should generate plenty of feedback and give most of the kids a chance to chime in. Tip number 5, announce the plan. After a few minutes, mute everyone's microphone and tell them what they can expect during your group meeting. This is helpful because it assures them that you have a purpose for meeting together. For my group, I told them, hey guys, I'm loving our conversations so far. We're going to get started in about 4 more minutes. At that time, I'm going to mute everyone and we'll watch a teaching video on here from the youth pastor. That'll last for about 8 minutes. And then after that, we'll talk about it for the next few minutes, and then we'll stick around to chat about whatever you want to talk about for the last 10 minutes or so. If that sounds good, use your reaction button and give me a thumbs up. And just as a side note, anytime you can get them to engage online, it is a bonus. Tip number 6, go with the flow. If the students seem to get distracted or take the conversation into crazy directions more than usual, that's okay. This online form of meeting is new and different for them, so don't fight against it, just go with the flow. Things will settle in after the next few weeks as they get more and more comfortable meeting this way, and that weird poster hanging in that one kid's room won't prompt the same over-the-top reactions in week 3 as it did in week 1. In the meantime, ask your questions, move the conversation around, and move things along. Tip number 7, end with prayer. Ask your group to share their prayer requests for anything that's weighing on their hearts and minds. When I asked this yesterday, the kids responded with a few personal things that had happened in the past week. I will tell you that if no one mentions it, don't forget to add a prayer request for the leaders around the world as they try their best to contain and deal with the coronavirus. Plus, we need to be praying for the people who are sick, that they would be comforted in their pain and ultimately be restored to health. After you pray, let the students get back to their small talk and finish on a high note. So in summary, as we bring this video to a close, my first small group meeting on Zoom wasn't without its issues and glitches, but overall it was a good experience for me and the students. If nothing else, they got to see each other for the first time in a few weeks, and I was able to get a little more comfortable using the technology. Once again, the 7 quick tips that I have for you today are: communicate early, send reminders, have everything ready, start with fun, announce the plan, go with the flow, and end in prayer. As always, I'll work this week to make it an even better experience for everyone in the small group next week, and I'll keep you posted about how it goes. Just a reminder, if you've enjoyed this video and you think these kinds of conversations are helpful, I would encourage you to subscribe down below, and I'll see you on the next video.